Hello, my dear friends. I really love to introduce you to people a little bit different way. Of course, a lot of people know about you, what you're doing all your life career. But just let's start. Frank Andersen. And now please tell me who you are.
Gamajoba, nice to be you in Georgia. And I'm Frank Andersen, and one of your best friends, and you're one of my best friends.
Thank you. Frank, so we're all interesting. What about your family? Where are you from? And please tell me a little bit about your parents.
I was born in Copenhagen, in Denmark, and my mother was a principal dancer, the pantomime theater in Tivoli Garden. And my father was an editor-in-chief for the Social Democrats newspaper in Denmark. And I was born in 1953. And my mother had a huge ballet school. And when I was 3 years old, I started to do social dancing there, not ballet, but social dancing. Actually, one funny thing about my mother is that Erik, the very famous, world famous Danish dancer, had his debut with my mother. He was 18 years old, and it was during the war that the director of the Tivoli Garden Ballet called the Royal Danish Ballet and said, "Don't you have a young boy that wants to make a few bucks in his summer holiday?" And the director for the Royal Danish Ballet said, "Yeah, I have a young, I think he's 18. He's very blonde, it's very good. I think he could need a little challenge." So a ballet was created in Tivoli Garden, and he danced with my mother. So every time my mother and I went to the theater when I was a child, and my mother went with me to the theater of the Royal Danish Ballet, and Erik was in the theater, he would always stand up and bow for my mother. I was very touched about that because I didn't really know what it meant. But I mean, today I can still see him do it, and I know exactly what it meant. And I'm very, very honored to have my mother.
Absolutely fantastic, Frank. And this was like your decision to go to professional ballet school, or you just enjoy to dance?
Well, good question. Good question. You sound like a professional interviewer. Very good. No, I mean my mother's sister. They were two sisters. She was also dancing, but she was actually dancing at the Royal Danish Ballet. So my mother's mother had promoted them both into dance. And my mother's mother, my grandmother, was a dresser at the turn of the century at the Royal Danish Ballet. And so she knew the house and everything. And then one day when I was 7 years old in 1960, then my mother's mother said, "Why don't you take him to the ballet at the Royal Danish Ballet, to the ballet school?" And my mother said, "No, I cannot do that because everybody will know me in there." And my mother's sister said the same. No, we cannot do that. So my mother's mother said, "I'll take him." So I went in there with her without knowing much about what was happening. And there was, I think, 220 girls for the audition, and there were only 7 boys. So they said, as soon as the boys are 10, we'll let them into the room. But we came at 8 in the morning, and by 4 o'clock, the girls were finished, and we were still 7 boys. And we were let in. And then another boy, and I was taken. 7 years old.
Frank, so nothing changed. Same situation today.
Nothing has changed.
Like in our school, lots of girls, just 7, 10 boys, everywhere in the world. So this is
It
other my question will be later. So tell me please, but what do you think family is important in your life that time and now?
I would like to say that family is everything. You cannot do the job, being a dancer, being a director for a company like you and I, like you are, and I have been a director of school, without having a family. You can say family in many things, because best advice to any new director, I think I also said it to you, that when you became director in Georgia in 2004, was it?
Yes.
Then I also said to you, gather your family around you. And it means also friends, because friends like I have you, and I'm so happy that it is for me like family. I think that is the most important in the world. My mother lately died many years ago. My father died when I was only 11, so my mother raised me by herself, which was, I tell you, not very easy, because I was gone most of the time. And as soon as I became 16, I was traveling the world to become better dancer. I was studying in the summertime abroad in Denmark. So she didn't see me very much, but I owe her everything. Family is very, very important.
Frank, this is, I'm sorry, just I don't know, a bad connection, a little bit sound comes really, really late, but we try first time by Zoom, so let's see how it works later. So
We'll try. It's fine.
Maybe it's a little windy in Georgia when I'm sitting, and this is not really good connection. Okay, thank you. And so now my question is, what do you think about your school? This is Royal Danish Ballet. It sounds fantastic. And what was inside school that time when you was there, and what's happened now today? Something changed, a lot of things is changed. What do you think? And about the Danish style also, and your Danish teacher?
In 1960, when I started at the school, we were about 60 children in 10 grades, which means we were in an average of 6 in every grade. And there was only 5 rooms for the academic school. So there was 2 classes in each school. So about the highest it would be like 12, 13. Mm-hmm. And then when you got to the 9th, 10th grade, before you would become an apprentice, there were not that many, because there have been, the bad ones has been taken away along the road. So in the last class, there was about 4 or 5 that then should compete about getting into the company, becoming an apprentice. And we worked in the morning. We worked from 8:30 to 10:15 with class. Mm-hmm. And then we had 1 hour free before we went to the academic school. This is because all the teachers were teaching in normal schools out in Copenhagen in the morning. Mm-hmm. And then the ones that were teaching at the Royal Danish Ballet School, academic side, came there in the afternoon. Mm-hmm. So we were working around, I would say, 11:30, 12 o'clock until 5 in the afternoon with class, academic classes. And then we went home. If you didn't have performance in the evening, and I think that the Royal Danish Ballet is most likely the company that is using children in ballets, because all the repertoire of famous August Bournonville, born in 1805, dead 1879, who made the essence of the repertoire for the Danish ballet, what we are famous for, always used so many children in his ballet. So many times I was in theater in the morning at 8 o'clock. And I came home to my mother around 11 in the night. So it was sometimes long days.
And what is this now? It's something changed now, it's better way. And I remember we talk about this. So you do a lot of things to improve this school. So, and can you say a little bit what
Yeah,
is
well, I say that the academics has been extraordinarily upgraded. I mean, now we have 10 classrooms, and there are more children now. However, still we have 10 classrooms, and we're not many in the classes. So you get a very, very, very good education. You have teachers that is just employed at the Royal Ballet academic line, which means that when you finish your training in the morning, you can go straight to school, and you don't get to finish at 5. You finish at 4 or 3:30 or something. The other ones even earlier. Now it's also that in the afternoon, like from 4 to 6, you have afternoon classes where you are working on special jumps, special point work, on pas de deux, on lifting weights. I mean, a lot of things. You do that in the afternoon from 4 to 6. And then still there's only 2 hours before the performance begins. So in that sense, not so many things has changed because children are still in the ballets. Maybe not as much because the repertoire has changed. At that time, there was, I would say, 40% of the repertoire was Bournonville, a lot of Bournonville in repertoire. That's not the case today. Today, I would say 20% of repertoire is August Bournonville. The rest is more neoclassical, it's modern, it's another full-length ballets, which we didn't have so many of at that time. 1960. It's 60 years ago.
yes. So we are really little different. So it was everywhere like this, really everywhere like this. And what you're thinking about now? You are traveling around the world. You see different schools. Now you're staging Bournonville everywhere because you are one of best person who can teach Bournonville around the world. And what do you think? Artists is difficult to learn and teach Bournonville. What is different between your school and, let's say, Russian school, French school, like most how we say important schools in the world? What is different, especially about Bournonville?
Well, I think that Bournonville today, the Bournonville style, is probably, along with the Keddy system, the most preserved style. I mean, with Bagana, I think it's very preserved as well. But the problem I see sometimes when I see the great Russian ballets, or I would go to a competition, we go to a competition together, you see a variation from Blake, and everybody says it's the Petit Pas. And I mean, you see 20 different black spots, and then after Petit Pas. But if you look at James' variation in La Sylphide, you know that there's only one version. And I mean, you cannot be different. Then people will say, well, it's not Bournonville, because everybody knows there's only one version. So I think we are very lucky that we have this style. We're very lucky that the successor of Bournonville preserved the Bournonville style into the 6 daily class, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday class, and by system has about 150 enchaînements that you can dance. And it is a very distinct style, and you see that anywhere. It's something we have to teach. So when we go abroad and do these things, usually if it's somebody that we feel need the classes without being able to master the style, we teach some classes. And that is quite popular because it is something that people is not used to dance. But I'm very impressed when I go abroad and I see a Sleeping Beauty and I see a Swan Lake is really danced in the style of Vagano or in the English styles of Sleeping Beauty. I really like to see that too, because that is a kind of a step into past where you are bringing forward some feelings and emotions that for me is very treasurable.
Yeah, this is wonderful, because I remember, so when I went to Copenhagen, because you invited me in the 90s, it was really hard for me to learn Bournonville. Even I was dancing all repertoire, all big repertoire. It was quite difficult, and I think it's really important to teach Bournonville in the school. How you know?
I agree.
How you know? Even in Mariinsky Theater. Vaganova's time, when she was ballerina, so they have a teacher from Denmark, Andersen, who teach this all rond de jambes and like this, and we see a lot of variations in the petit pas variation, like in Corsar or something, they're using Bournonville steps, so it comes like really classical ballet vocabulary, you know. So, and this is, I think it's absolutely wonderful. And we are so lucky and happy in Georgia. We have your ballets, and we have I think it's last great ballet what you stage, full new. This is Natalie. So it's absolutely fantastic ballet from Siberia to Moscow, Bournonville's ballet. And we are so lucky to have this. I just really want to share this ballet to show to everybody around the world. Maybe one day we will do this. Thank you for this wonderful work you and your beautiful wife Eva and Dina Byrne doing in Georgia. Thank you so much. So one other question what I want to tell you. You have really big bagage to be artistic director at the company. So you was 2 times in Denmark, you was in the Stockholm. And of course, you are working everywhere and around the world. What you doing? How are you choosing repertoire? You see what kind of dancer you have, or you just look at what is important today for repertoire? How are you choosing this when you're directing company and when you was directing company?
Well, first of all, I want to make a remark to what you said before, because I think that you were for 30 years ago, when you came to Copenhagen the first time, you were very clever. And I sometimes think that you might have been clever than you knew, because you came to Copenhagen and devoted 3 months of your time to dig in the world and the style of August Bournonville. And that is what it takes to get a feeling of what the man stands for. And I was so happy you came, and that made the foundation for our friendship at that time. But I'm also saying that you were the first ballerina, and that ever since, foreign ballerina to be dancing 3 ballets of August Bournonville at the Royal Danish Theatre, the old stage where the Royal Danish Ballet is performing, Flower Festival in Genzano, you did Teresina in Napoli, the main role, and you did La Sylphide in La Sylphide. I think it was very, very brave of you to come to Copenhagen and just dive into this, what this man would give you.
It was fantastic.
Very lucky.
And thank you.
Lucky we had good teachers at that time that could help you along the way, give you the right push. That was a fantastic time.
This is fantastic. And you know, I can say now, Frank, because I learned a lot of things from Royal Danish Ballet, from Henning, from you, from Eva, from Anna, from a lot of people at that time in Royal Ballet. Amazing. Now when I'm watching Bournonville somewhere, it's a little bit difficult for me. I'm watching it with your eyes. When I see
no, I know. And you see exactly the same things I see, because you know what I'm looking for. It's the same things you are looking for when we talk about one. So
Yeah.
you're very well equipped.
Thank you so much.
Well,
It's really fantastic.
speaking about,
And artistically was so interesting for me. You know, you remember I'm dancing Don Q and La Sylphide same time, and I was much more tired during this La Sylphide's first entrance, then 3-act Don Q, and you were laughing. You say, "How is possible, Nina?" Because I never do this kind of steps before. It takes different things, different technique, different freedom, different movements. So it was really. I'm so lucky because after I'm dancing here, I'm dancing this in Moscow, in ABT, in other countries, La Sylphide, and I always dance Danish La Sylphide. What I'm learning from Royal Ballet and Danish Royal Ballet.
Very, very good. Well, if I should just go back to your question about choosing a repertoire, then I would say I would like a point of view when I was director in Copenhagen. I would say, first of all, my responsibility and any director's responsibility, I know, I feel it's in my contract that you have to preserve the style of August Bournonville, which means that every season you would have 2, maybe 3, but at least 2 ballets. Maybe new productions, but have to play his ballets.
Yeah.
You play his ballets, you have to make his training available for all the dancers that is there, so they constantly be updated to what his system, what his style is. You cannot perform his ballets if you don't know his style. You can perform them, but maybe not perform them right. Then on the other hand, I said to myself, we have to look at what is for the company, what will work for the audience. And for me, I find it very interesting when you go and you see a full-length ballet. Mm-hmm. It can be a drama ballet. I mean, we love drama. We want to go to the theater to cry or to laugh, but to be touched. So it can be drama ballet. It can also be an abstract. But the audience, and for the dancers also, they really like big story ballets. So I tried in my time, I tried every year have a new length ballet on the repertoire. It didn't have to be a creation, but a new length to the audience and to the dancers, to feed them. Beside of that, I had liked very much the idea of making Danish choreographers speak, because, I mean, is there a new Bournonville there? Is there a new Harlander? We have to see. We don't know before we see. So I have to give them a chance. And then for the rest of the repertoire, I mean, we have many wonderful choreographers in the world. And I always tried to look beyond the easy choice. Easy choice is wonderful, fantastic choreographers. But if you go to the next row, also exciting to see moving. I've been very lucky that I had the chance to invite, for instance, Chinese choreographers that has never choreographed outside China to Denmark to choreograph. Wang Yunyun is a great example. So I think for me, it's been a mix of the old and the new, satisfying the audience, but also satisfying the dancers. And then at the same time, making a strong development of young choreographers where we don't know what we get before the curtain up.
Frank, how I remember, and I know this, so you really changed this, because before in Denmark it was not that open, right? It was like more possibility to invite people, like guest artists or something. So I think you was one of beginner who really do this and who really start to open Royal Danish Ballet for this. And then you moved to Royal Swedish Ballet. Even this is Scandinavia. It was different between these two companies, and how difficult was for you to change place.
It's very interesting because we all know that the oldest company in the world is the Paris Opera. And then comes the Mariinsky as number 2. Then in 1748 comes the Royal Danish Ballet. And in 1773 comes the Royal Swedish Ballet. And on number 5, 1791, I can't remember, the Bolshoi.
Yes.
So Bolshoi is actually number 5.
Yes.
Not sure about the year, but I know the Swedish year, of course, because that was Gustav III was king.
Yes, yes.
And he was very, very fascinated about dance, acting. He loved the theater. So I mean, he made his Drottningholms theater in Sweden, outside Stockholm, and he had the opera. I mean, it was fantastic how the art and dance and drama was blooming. He was a king. Unfortunately, then in 1792, he was shot dead in the opera house, which is the big of Verdi, the Ballet, the mask ball, is taking place in Stockholm. And after that, all the theaters closed in Sweden, and were closed many years. So the history, the background of the Royal Swedish Ballet, even the history is quite long, there's not so much to tell. So one of the main things of the history the Swedish Ballet has was something called Ballet Suédois, Svenska Balletten, which was a company founded by Rolf de Marais and Chamberlain, 2 men that find together. One has a lot of money, one has a lot of choreographic skill, and they did from 1920 to 1925, they did an extraordinary get together of artists, of composers, of painters, and together them in Paris at the Théâtre Champs-Élysées. And there they had a fantastic season. It was a scandal, actually, because Chamberlain and Rolf de Marais, to create this company, they took many dancers from the Royal Swedish Ballet, offered them their salaries, and asked them to leave the Royal Swedish Ballet and go with them to Paris. They did that, and that became a scandal. But also, it became one of the most important chapters in the history of the Royal Swedish Ballet. So one of the things that I was trying to call back to find the history of the Royal Swedish Ballet when I was there. It has very many choreographers. I feel maybe they have more choreographers than Denmark. So I was constantly bringing in different Swedish choreographers to create pieces for the Royal Swedish Ballet. And one of them you know very well, Per Isberg, who was a wonderful principal dancer, and now then became a choreographer. His biggest success was a new Nutcracker, which became a Swedish Nutcracker, which was genius. And I am a house choreographer when I was 4 years in Stockholm, and he did many pieces for me.
I know you also bring John Neumeier's new work there. It was really hard, but you really did it.
Was fantastic time to have the possibility of getting to know John Neumeier. I met him first in 1974, which is quite some time ago. It's about 46 years ago. I'm John for the first time. Wild time goes. And after that, he'd been doing several creations when I was director for the Royal Danish Ballet. Several creations for us. Last one was A Little Mermaid in 2005. And the premiere was actually on 15th of April, 2005. It was my birthday. My birthday the day before the Queen's birthday, which is Queen Margaret II, the 16th of April. And this was, at the same time, was Hans Christian Andersen's theme. And it was a year of Bournonville, But Hans Christian Andersen and Bournonville are born the same year, 1805. So it was 200 years anniversary for them both. And at the same time, Queen turned 65. So it was like a 3-time celebration. Bournonville, Hans Christian Andersen, and then a present to the Queen. That was the intention. And John did a wonderful job and fulfilled our expectations.
Frank, you know, it's amazing because everybody knows Hans Christian Andersen because all these fairy tales, and we all know this. And it's amazing you have same name, Andersen.
Well, we are not related, unfortunately.
But tell me, I know about this system. Royal houses, like opera houses, have their different system. So you have pension, you have like very strong union. How is different between Denmark and Sweden, because you was directing both houses? What do you think?
Okay, the difference, I would say that time has changed for both companies since I was there. When I was there in Copenhagen for the 16 years I was director, there was a soft transition of foreigners coming into company. We were opening the door for foreigners. Happened 15 years before I came, they started when Flint was director. But I continued with that, handpicked, not to get forced, but handpicked. And especially when the school was not, 1 year, the school was not producing, you could take something from the outside. But that has resulted today that not very many Danish people in the Royal Danish Ballet. And I mean, I don't think it is the intention that it should be like that, but I think it just happened to be that. Maybe because school didn't produce that much for certain years and whatever. There is a lot of Danes. At my time, I would say 20% foreigners, 80% Danes. Today, 2020, the opposite. The same in Sweden. They had a very, 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 very strong union in Sweden when I was there. In 95 to 99, I was director there. Very strong union. And again, we had 80% Swedish people and about 20, maybe only 10% foreigners. Not very many. And to change anything in the system there, very, very difficult. The work hours, let me just give a fast example. You could work this many amount of hours in the week. Performance was counted, preparation before performances was counted, coming into class was counted. So actually, you have to place everything very clever. So when you have a run-up to a premiere, you could not do very much performance because then you rehearsed. So, I mean, that was really, really a problem. So it was very hard to get more performances than about 8 a year. And that's just on the edge to keep a company of 80, 90 people fed. So that was a problem. Saturdays, you could work from 11:30 to 1 o'clock. Everybody went home at 1 o'clock. And I mean, I was really upset about that when I started. And I tried to get 1 more hour on the Saturdays, but the union would not even discuss it. Then I said, well, I mean, if I have to get John Neumeier to come and do a big ballet for us, Papa, I cannot have him sit in the hotel room from 1 o'clock in the afternoon on Saturday until Monday morning, 48 hours. So they said, okay, we'll give him to 2:30 on Saturdays. So we got a little more on Saturdays, but that was only when John Neumeier was in the house. So, but very soon, 3 months, 4 months after, saying, okay, Saturday afternoon, fine, I'm done. I can do anything. And we have to remember, it was time before the internet, before computer, before mobile. So, I could not connect to anyone abroad in that sense. So you can make some mails on your text processor, and then you could print it out and then send it as a fax on Monday, but you could not do very much in the weekend in the mid-90s.
Tell me, please, these kind of situations are destroy art, or this is good for, one point, this is good for dancer, but it depends also what kind of job you have. So it must be different things about union who do this and ballet union, because we are now, and we need to work this time, because tomorrow we'll be late or we are old. So what do you think? This is a strong union, like in Italy sometimes or somewhere. Are there destroy art?
It's hard to generalize about that, but I think sometimes you might have some directors that doesn't quite understand and is probably too egocentric to understand what the dancers want, what the dancers need, what the dancers must have to make his life or her life the best, and for him to be able to produce the best. I think that's why union was there in the beginning, to protect the dancers. But I also think that today, I know many directors, of course, like you, and I think many of them really understand what dancers need. So I think a strong union, I don't think it's needed right now in many places. I think they do without, but I'm not going to generalize, because I'm sure there are places in the world where it's necessary.
Yeah, why I asking you this question? Of course, union is important to protect dancers, really. But sometimes when this is like workers' union, it's very strong. And I remember in the United States, it was really hard. When I was dancing, they say, you cannot touch this because you are doing it. You cannot do this because it's union. You cannot do this. You cannot warming up in the theater because 5 till 6 we have break. I say, but I don't have break. But they say, so close theater, go get out. And I was really shocked. I say, I cannot go on stage if I'm not warming up. And they say, we are so sorry, but this is our rules. I say, show me these rules so ballerina cannot warming up before the performance. So now I have little fight with this one guy. I mean, not fight, but I try to explain. So ballet people needs time for this and that. So, this is, I think it's really needs sometimes to talk together with these unions and make it plans a little bit to see what dancer needs, because they're thinking, so dancers union is weak and they cannot do this and that. So I really, in the different countries is different, and we all have contract. Also, we need to know dancers is not slave, so they cannot do everything some one person wanted. Of course, it must be really correct and written rules. Am I right?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is that when I was director the first time in 1985, nobody had heard anything about managing a company, directing a company. I mean, I had one secretary and one assistant direct with me, and then one to run the books. Today, or when I left the company, I think we were about 25, 30 people. And at that time, you just everybody, we had rules. We could work there until then you go home, and then you come back. But there was no like 100 pages book with rules, because that was somehow not necessary. And I think there's a difference in America, very much difference, also because there's no state subsidized. Every company is relying on sponsors to raise money for the production or for the season or for the single dancer. A sponsor can buy a dancer, almost literally. And so there I can see they need rules. And that's why it's hard to compare America with you maybe, and also Georgia and Europe, many places in Europe that is 100% state subsidized. So are we in Denmark, so are we in Sweden. We are not relying on sponsors in that sense, but it has become more and more. And the moment you rely on sponsors to give you 30 million every year or something like that, krona, which is like 4.5 million euro, then if it's all of a sudden not there, you miss them. So somehow you can never put the sponsor money into the budget. I mean, you have the money from the government and then you use that. And if you get some extra money, is whipped cream. It's for fun. You understand?
Yeah.
So, but I think about the rules. I think it's different from Europe, where you are, and in America, and of course different again in China.
Yeah. Okay, let's go quickly, because I'm afraid maybe this time will be over.
Yeah.
We can continue one more time. So when you when you was directing company, you give choreographers freedom to choose ballerinas and dancers, or you just put them in the cast?
No, I would say that every time a choreographer would come to the Royal Danish Ballet, I would always give them free hands. Always. I have never, not even once, pushed somebody to somebody. I have suggested and I've answered when I'm being asked. And I could suggest, if I feel a ballerina hasn't been done so much that year, I would say, have you seen her? Have you looked at her? If you think it's a good choice, I think she will respond good to it. Like this. But I have never pushed for anyone. Completely free hands.
Yeah, this is great. What do you think? Discipline is important in the ballet, so, or it will be like free today? Freedom is important. What about ballet inside the companies? They must have a strong discipline.
You have to say one more time, honey. In and out. One more time.
What do you think in the companies? It's necessary to have strong discipline, or they can be free, like they come class if they want, they are not coming in the class. So performance is different, but I mean like everyday work. Are they need to be in the discipline? Are they need to be dressed? Or this is also totally freedom today?
Discipline. I mean, I believe that there has to be a discipline and a self-discipline, because everybody, of course, has to do class every day. But I'm not so concerned about that, because everybody knows, everybody who's a professional knows they have to be there every day. If somebody should not understand that, then you have to tell them. But I believe very much in self-discipline. And I think I believe more that today than I did 25 years ago, 35 years ago. There I thought discipline was something you should maintain. But I feel more that if you give them free hand to develop, they also will feel and know that this is the way forward for them to develop right way under my guidance. And I think that that I'm coming through with that. Also, when I'm working in different companies, I'm looking at people and telling them, let me see what you got, show me, and then we'll see. So it's like we have a little time to make the cast. I mean, I was very happy to work with you. I mean, we're happy to work in Berlin when we did feed here last year. Wonderful to work in Georgia this autumn, doing Siberia again, and wonderful to with your girl. Wonderful to see what is coming up, to see your extraordinary mass of talent. And to me, they were in class every day. To me, I saw develop in the 2 months I was there. I could see the develop. And I think that's because you are there and guiding them in the right way. And that is how I feel a director should be. Directors should be there to guide and show the way. Director means somebody that is showing the way. And that is what you are, I were, and that is what they respect, they use, and I don't think, with people, I don't think they abuse it, they use it. And that's what I call self-discipline under guidance.
Thank you, Frank. I think this is important to everybody hear this because I'm from Russian school, I'm from Bolshoi, and we have very strong teacher in class. And I'm so thankful. Every day I'm thankful to them because we was in the class like students, you know, we was like the leotard and rose tie. And every time I was go out and come back, she always say, okay, Nina, take it everything now, you are my student. So, and I'm so thankful. In the rehearsal, I never rehearsed with something like this clothes. When we warmed up, we was like exactly, because she says to me, don't spend time, you're in mine. I want to help you, I want to correct you. So today I see a lot of people like totally free. How they are dressed, like in the street or in the studio, sometimes it's same dresses. This makes me a little bit sad. I will do this interview with dancers today. I'm very interested in what they're thinking about this because we have time. I also have time now to talk with you, Frank. Thank you so much. And I want to say, not just because I personally love you and you are really my one of best friend in the world, but also because how much you love ballet, how much you give to young dancers to continue and keep our job at that high level. And sometimes young dancers understood this later, not immediately, but it's so we give them time to understand how much we want to give to them. And thank you very much to be with me today. That's a long time, and we will come back to you because I'm sure somebody will writing also questions, and we need to answer them. So big thank you. Big thank you to support us always and
always.
Thank you so much.
Big kiss.
Big kiss.
All the way.
With glass of wine.